This is the Scuba Educational Alliance Ocean Podcast, Episode 17. The Scuba Educational Alliance Ocean Podcast is a bi-weekly podcast dedicated to the world of scuba diving, ocean health, sustainability, and fostering a new generation of ocean stewards through diving education. Hello again, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to this latest episode of the Scuba Educational Alliance Ocean Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Centropino, founder and president of the Scuba Educational Alliance of Connecticut. Our organization dedicated to fostering a new generation of ocean stewards through scuba diving training and education. Well, we are now 4 months into 2025, and what a year it has been so far. Are we still winning? And are you feeling liberated? At least it's May, and I'm looking forward to breaking out the t-shirts and shorts very soon. Although we're still getting some cooler weather up here, and I chill very easily. So with that in mind, Donna and I have planned a quick trip to Key Largo at the end of the month to celebrate our anniversary. Now, it's been 6 years since I was last there, and I really enjoy visiting that part of the Keys. We'll do a couple of days of diving and then head to the History of Diving Museum and maybe stop by Reef HQ or visit the Coral Restoration Foundation. Some good diving, good food, and warm weather. Yeah, and over the weekend, I finished up the 27th and last book in Clive Cussler's Dirk Pitt adventures. It's called The Corsican Shadow. Now, it has taken me several years to get through them all in order. I'm sure we'll see more with Dirk Cussler now at the helm. Well, my feature segment today will be on NOAA and what's going on amidst all the budget-cutting activities and the direction with the new administration. But up first is Sea State for some news and information updates. This is Sea State here on the Scuba Educational Alliance Ocean Podcast for Thursday, May 1st, 2025. Let's start off today with some numbers. Specifically, the new scuba diver certification numbers that came from the Diving Equipment Marketing Association, or DEMA. I recently received 2 sets of numbers. First is the new certifications for Q4 2024. That number came in at 21,481. That is not as good as Q4 2023, where we saw 25,263 new certs. And Q4 2023 was down from Q4 2022 at 27,263. Certainly not the direction we want to see. Then I received the full year certification numbers that go back from 2020. We know what was going on then through 2024. Let's just say the downward trend continues. We only saw 111,865 new certifications in 2024, and that compares to 128,255 in 2023 and 132,005 in 2022. When you do the math, 2024 saw a 12.8% drop, while 2023 we saw a 2.8% drop. Now, this is just one measure of the health of the scuba diving industry, an important one, especially as older divers age out. That's why we need to focus more on what it takes to get younger people into diving and help them see the value of the lifestyle scuba diving creates. Now, if we want to look at the value of scuba diving, here's a story out of Arizona that shows how diving can make a difference. See, there was this newlywed couple having their wedding photos taken on a dock on Tempe Town Lake in Tempe, Arizona. And that's when the photographer fell off the dock and dropped his $5,000 camera along with all their wedding pictures. Well, they contacted the local police department, who couldn't help, but they did manage to connect with the Tempe Fire Department, who has a public safety dive team, and turns out they happen to have training scheduled. So they shifted their training to a real search and recovery effort. Because they knew exactly where the photographer went in, their search area was pretty small, but with only inches of visibility, it was still a bit challenging. The dive team found the camera in the muck, and while the camera was destroyed, they were able to recover the memory card and download all the pictures. Fortunately, the camera was insured. Another example of how scuba diving can make a difference in people's lives. Now, I recently saw a story on TV news about whales and dolphins, along with other marine mammals, washing up dead on the beaches of Southern California. Most recently, there were at least 50 dolphins and 4 whales, but they estimate that hundreds of mammals have died since around February 1st. The cause is a neurotoxin from a massive algae bloom. The neurotoxin is domoic acid. Now, they believe this algae bloom is fueled by wind-driven upwelling, and when coupled with the ocean temperature rise, the bloom becomes more frequent and more intense. Now, this domoic acid is really lethal to dolphins and has serious impacts on sea lions as well. There is some question about whether the recent wildfires, which have caused more runoff of toxins along with the fertilizers, are fueling this bigger bloom. That would seem to make sense, but from what I gather, this will continue to be a big issue. Perhaps over time, the whales, dolphins, and other mammals can find safe havens in other areas. We just can't keep poisoning the ocean. And speaking of poisoning and destroying the ocean, the executive orders from the White House continue to wreak havoc on the environment. Last week, President Trump issued yet another decree that fast-tracks approvals of deep-sea mining. The title of the executive order, Unleashing America's Offshore Critical Minerals and Resources. I was also disappointed to see that on the NOAA website there was an article titled, The Next Gold Rush, Historic Executive Order Will Boost Economic Growth and Support National Security. I wonder if the scientists at NOAA actually believe that. Well, Oceanic certainly doesn't buy it. According to them, mining seafloors will only speed up the destruction of our oceans, causing irreparable harm. This will definitely affect the efforts of more than 30 countries, fishery trade groups, environmentalists, and some auto and tech companies who support a moratorium on seabed mining. We, the United States, are opening up yet another door for environmental destruction. Someday, common sense will prevail. Now, I'm always on the lookout for books about the ocean or scuba diving, and while I don't always find brand new books, I do come across some that look interesting from time to time. Here's one that came out last year, Amphibious Soul, Finding the Wild in a Tame World, a Memoir of Nature's Healing Power by Craig Foster. Now, the book was released in hard copy in 2024, and it came out in paperback on April 15, 2025. Foster is a world-renowned filmmaker and the founder of Sea Change Project. You might also recognize his name from the Academy Award for Best Documentary, My Octopus Teacher. Here's a quote about the book from Kathy Sullivan, former NASA astronaut and oceanographer. This transformative story is the kind that inspires us towards insight, warmth, and a deep care for humanity and the planet we share. Given all that is going on right now, I could use some of this. My copy's on order, and I plan on popping this to the top of my reading list. And finally, here's something to look forward to. The new documentary, Ocean, with David Attenborough, is set to release on May 8, 2025, and this coincides with his 99th birthday. Sir David delivers his greatest message of hope. While this will be released on May 8th, it won't be on National Geographic Channel, Disney Plus, or Hulu until later this year. I did watch the 2.5-minute trailer, and it looks spectacular. The film is by Silverback Films and Ocean Planet Studio. The message from Attenborough is that the ocean is at a crossroad. This is an understatement, but his message is also that the oceans can recover faster than we can imagine. Not only recover, but thrive. I think we all know that can happen, especially with marine protected areas. Save our seas, save our world. Now, they also indicate that the film will provide practical and affordable solutions for protecting the ocean. So be on the lookout for Ocean with David Attenborough. I hope I'm as active and committed at 99 as he is. Well, that's it for this installment of Sea State here on the Scuba Educational Alliance Ocean Podcast. Today, I want to spend a little bit of time talking about just what is going on at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association, or simply NOAA. It's hard to tell, and it's even more scary to think about a future given the current political environment. Why is it so hard to tell? Well, I can remember when I was growing up, we got our news from essentially two sources, and those were sources that we trusted: the daily newspaper and the evening news. That may have been a bit naive, but that's how it was. At the time, our local newspaper was called the Daily Republican. How's that for partisanship? It ultimately became the Evening Phoenix before being absorbed into another publication. As for the evening news, who other than the most trusted man in America, Walter Cronkite? We watched because we believed and we were being told the truth. Today, who can we trust? Fake news, real news, double fake news, podcasts, YouTube, Substack, the list goes on. Who knows? Before I go into what is happening at NOAA, it would be good to take a look at its history. Over 200 years of history, starting in 1807 under President Jefferson with the United States Coast and Geodetic Survey. Then in 1870, the Weather Bureau of the United States was formed, followed in 1871 with the Bureau of Commercial Fisheries. By 1917, we had the Coast and Geodetic Survey Corps. Well, in 1965, they were all combined into the Environmental Science Services Administration. President Nixon in 1970 thought we needed a new administration to better protect life and property from natural hazards and have a better understanding of the total environment, along with exploration and development leading to the intelligent use of our marine resources. Hence, NOAA. Now, it's funny how it ended up in the Commerce Department versus the Interior, where it probably belonged. You see, Nixon was feuding with then Interior Secretary Wally Hunkel over the Vietnam War. So he decided to put it in the Commerce Department. Just a little bit of history to ground us. So let's fast forward here to 2025, some 218 years from the start, and are we seeing the dismantling of NOAA? As I mentioned in the Sea State segment, I was disappointed and quite frankly shocked at the message at the top of the NOAA site about ushering in another gold rush with expedited deep-sea mining. Now, how does that stack up with the original vision of intelligent use of our marine resources? Like most federal agencies, it would appear that NOAA is being drastically impacted by the DOGE efforts to shrink government. Between February and March, there were about 800 to 1,000 employees laid off. It's hard to pin down a true number and impact because some were fired, then rehired, maybe put on administrative leave, and possibly fired again. Many were identified as probationary employees. I think that means they were in their role for less than 1 year. That includes many longtime veterans of the agency who took on a new position within a year. Somehow I find this a bit troubling. Having worked for two different Dow 30 companies, layoffs, budget cuts, and human resource events were worked on diligently, competently, and with dignity. We always started from the viewpoint that our people were our greatest asset, not a commodity. It was critically important that we not only considered the devastating impacts on the employees being let go, but also consider what it meant to those who remained and the support they would need. let's take a look at some of the news stories that are out there. Again, who can we trust today? First, the Sierra Club had an article they posted that said, layoffs at NOAA signal a setback for climate research and national security. This article was written by Laura Stewart, and she indicated that predicting extreme weather events is about to get a lot harder due to massive cuts in staffing and funding. NOAA has already cut back on the number of weather balloons it's launching, just as we're seeing more extreme weather events across the U.S. The National Fishermen's website had an article by Carly Stewart that read, NOAA layoffs, a crisis for U.S. fisheries. Fisheries depend on critical data from NOAA on fish stock assessments, fisheries management, and the regulatory processes. And then from World Cargo News, headline, NOAA layoffs raise alarm over maritime safety and port operations. And finally, NPR had a story about scientists fearing that NOAA cuts by the Trump administration undermined improvements in hurricane forecast, and this just as we're entering the hurricane season. Time to break out my Sharpie and start predicting storms, I guess. Project 2025 targets NOAA. Specifically, it calls for the dismantling of NOAA's Office of Oceanic and Atmospheric Research. Remember the parrot in the igloo? Deny and question science to protect profits. Recently, the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, canceled a $4 million grant to Princeton University for climate research. The reason for the termination, according to Lutnick, is that the grant, quote, promoted exaggerated and implausible climate threats that don't align with the priorities of this administration, end quote. And here's something else coming out of NOAA recently. They posted a news item that NOAA has signed an agreement to ensure reliable water supply for California agriculture. Turns out this was done in coordination with yet another presidential memorandum titled Putting People Over Fish. Again, I'm not sure if this is a good thing or a bad thing because I'm not sure if this is coming from the political side of things or the scientific community. So where does this leave us with respect to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration? I always turn to NOAA to get the best and most accurate information regarding climate, ocean health, sustainability efforts, you name it. I thought of this as organization as the Walter Cronkite for this area. Trust it. Now I'm not so sure. While I trust the dedicated men and women professionals who have worked very hard and with integrity, I'm suspect of the political operatives and approach being taken to gut the agency and essentially create havoc across needed environmental challenges and to keep us safe with accurate and reliable weather forecasts. We are 100 days into the havoc, turmoil, and dismantling of NOAA, and I can only hope that down the road, with a renewed focus on science and discovery and dedicated to the mission outlined back in 1970, that, like the oceans, NOAA will have the remarkable ability to recover and be everything we need it to be. It's not just NOAA that's suffering. There are too many things changing way too fast, and from my perspective, it's time to slow down and really understand the full impacts of what's happening across the federal government. Well, that wraps up this latest episode of the Scuba Educational Alliance Ocean podcast. Thanks again for listening, and please subscribe wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Bye for now.